right now, my lab has two major initiatives. So in neuroscience, a major question is what happens to the brain when it ages. And for most of the field, the way scholars answer that question is to take a group of 65-year-olds and to compare aspects of their neuroanatomy or neurophysiology or neurochemistry to a psychology undergraduate, right? And maybe there's a lot of problems with that comparison, but that age, 65, is a little bit arbitrary, right? So it's a sort of historical artifact. It's based on the average age that wage earners earn Social Security benefits. But from a women's health perspective, where I come from, it's almost an absurd age to choose, because one of the most profound neuroendocrine changes in a woman's life happens a decade earlier. And so my lab is dedicated to trying to understand what are the neural changes and cognitive changes happening in the brain much earlier in the aging process, so in the middle decades of life as women go through menopause. And we just launched the Healthy Midlife Aging Study at UCSB to address that question. Another major project in the lab that's run by my postdoctoral fellow Caitlin Taylor is to understand the impact of the birth control pill on the brain. This is a question that has sort of come up time and again, and I've been a little bit apprehensive to tackle it because it's politically prickly, right? The pill, which was first released widely in the United States in the 1960s, revolutionized women's health, right? It's, something that we should all be thankful for and happy that we have access to, and yet from a basic science perspective, very little research has been done to understand how it might affect the brain. And we know from animal studies that sex steroid hormones play an enormous role in shaping aspects of brain structure and function. So it begs the question, the one major mechanism of action of the pill is that it suppresses our body's endogenous production of these steroid hormones. So if we take these pills for 10, 20 years, does this have ramifications for our brain? And so Caitlin and I worked together to build this, what we're calling the UCSB Brain Imaging Initiative. It pools data from across all campus brain imaging users. So anybody running a study at the Brain Imaging Center brings in subjects, and there's common brain imaging sequences that they'll often use. And so we just collect the data as it occurs and pool it. And so in the first few months alone, we were able to get hundreds of participants. And based on that initial data, we're already seeing striking, significant changes in the brain comparing users of the pill to non-users. And, we're treating this as a discovery data set, and we plan to replicate it many times over. And based on this initial success of the sort of our in-house UCSB Brain Imaging Center, we're now partnering with Berkeley to expand sites. And if that transition goes well, our ultimate goal is to make this a University of California-wide brain imaging database, right? So that any researcher on any of these campuses can draw on this data. It's going to be open access, and they can ask any questions at the interface of the brain and behavior.